Welcome to this video that we're putting together here to talk about the commercial marijuana issue in Massachusetts. My name is Michael King from Massachusetts Family Institute, and I have the privilege of having Pastor Irvin here with me today to talk about, what's going on in the city of Lynn in particular regarding commercial marijuana, and then also what's going on in our state as well, to keep you updated on what you can do to really protect our youth. The concern really is a youth addiction epidemic regarding this commercial marijuana issue. So, Pastor Irvin, I want to thank you so much for joining us today, and welcome.
Thank you. It's a privilege to be here.
So the first question I just want to ask was, how many commercial marijuana shops are currently approved in the city of Lynn?
They approved 8.
Okay.
Yes.
And what is the current status of the commercial marijuana shop that got almost unanimous support from your city council? This was the one that was approved within 500 feet of your church in Lynn that so many have been concerned about. What's the current status on that particular shop?
It hasn't opened yet. The president of the council of the city of Lynn, he signed the host status. So now they told us that it's going to be taken to the state. It was signed on the 25th of February, so we had 20 days to make an appeal. But, it was a short amount of time. And when we asked an attorney regarding his service, it was going to be pretty expensive. So
Yeah.
now they're, taking it to the state.
And Pastor Irvin, why are you so concerned about this, proposed marijuana shop that's going to be within 500 feet of your church?
Well, you see, drug addiction is already a issue in the city of Lynn. Um, there are people consuming drugs, specifically in our area. We found people in our parking lot consuming drugs illegally. So having it legal is not going to really help. You can have a teenager, ask an adult to go and buy, marijuana. Just gives him money. He can do that for him. So it's not going to help society. Where we have problems with drug addiction, we also have problems with crime.
Yeah.
And so we also had some incidents where the cops had to come in and check our videos because somebody was shooting, and they ran across our building. They were looking for him. So we have a drug addiction situation and a crime situation already in our area. And we're a church. We have around 40 kids,
Mm.
and we want them to be safe.
Yeah.
We don't want them to just, after coming out of church, looking at the marijuana business in front of us.
Yeah.
It's not a healthy environment.
Yeah, and currently, the law has K through 12 schools within a 500 foot buffer zone where, you cannot have a commercial marijuana business, and it doesn't make sense that you wouldn't include churches, that you wouldn't include daycares in that same buffer zone for the exact purpose that you're mentioning, the concern that you're mentioning, which is you have 40 kids that attend your church, and as mom and dad and their children walk out of the service on a Sunday morning, um, they don't want the first thing to be a pot shop that they look at when they come in and out of the church.
That's right.
We know statistically that the closer a commercial pot shop is to youth, the more likely those youth are to consume that particular product. So this is a very real youth addiction epidemic that we are so concerned about. Um, Tell me a little bit about, just again, where are you in the appeal process? You mentioned, I think, February 25th or so is when the city council initially approved this 8th pot shop. Do you feel like you have any opportunity as a church right now to change the trajectory of, the pot shop going? I think it's what is it? Even less than 100 feet from your doors. Is that
Yeah,
right?
it's around that range. We went to speak with the president of the council, and the mayor accepted to join us in the meeting. And basically, what the mayor said was that when they began the process of the pot shops in Lynn, they arranged a committee to work that process. So he is not involved in that situation. Um, the president of the council told us that one thing we could do is try to find out that they're following the guidelines and everything that they should, legally. Because if we find out that they're not, we can um, go um, to the officers and report them. So basically, we didn't find much help, um, because we also understand that most of the administrators of the city of Lynn do want this.
Yeah.
There's a financial interest
Hmm.
going on. So unfortunately, like you said, they're not looking at churches the same way as they look at a school or a daycare.
Yeah.
But we do have people that will feel unsafe.
Yeah. Well, we definitely want to support churches in this effort. And, I really want to highlight, as I've told you before, there is a bill that's been co-sponsored both in the House and in the Senate on a state level to make churches and daycares part of that buffer zone. So, with almost 8,000 churches or so in Massachusetts, we feel like this would be a wise bill to get passed into law. And so I know that that bill was passed into study in 2020, but come 2021, we really want to make an effort to bring the churches together and contact their state rep and their state senator and really get this bill passed to put churches in that buffer zone and daycares, because the last thing we want our kids to be influenced by is another drug epidemic in our state. Pastor Irvin, I want to take some time here to just show our viewers some pictures actually that I think tell a really great story of what's going on in Massachusetts. So I want to, we're talking about, banning these commercial marijuana shops, and it might surprise a lot of our viewers that 250 towns and cities have now opted out or passed a moratorium regarding commercial marijuana. So out of 351 towns and cities in Massachusetts, to have 250 that have taken action is very encouraging. And so, if nothing else, be encouraged as you watch this presentation today that you can make a difference regarding this issue, even in Massachusetts. And I just want to go through a couple more slides here, just to kind of give you an idea. So, Pastor Irvin, you talked about the city of Lynn. And if you can see this, this is a picture of, I think, almost 200 people that showed up in Lynn on I think it was a rainy Tuesday night or something of that sort. I think it was even snowing out, if I remember correctly. And all these individuals showed up at the mayor's office, to express their concern. So very encouraging to see so many people concerned about this issue in Lynn. And then, I always talk about the city of Lawrence. Lawrence was the first city to ban commercial marijuana. So you cannot open a pot shop in Lawrence because of the local church. It might surprise many that there are about 120 Hispanic churches just in the city of Lawrence. And if you're seeing this particular picture, this is the local Hispanic church showing up at their city hall. So encouraging. This was the overflow room at the city hall. So many people had come that night to voice their opinion. And here's the city council, and you can see this is about 11:30 at night. You can see some of those city council members with their hands on their cheeks, and they're ready to go home because they've heard so much testimony to stop pot shops in the city of Lawrence. And I put Luke 18 there because that's the story of the persistent widow,
Mhm.
who made her request over and over and over to the judge and was finally granted her request. Now, this is in the city of Lowell. There was a peace march that 25 or so churches organized to stop commercial marijuana in Lowell. And then here's Waltham. As I understand it, there's currently no commercial marijuana shops in Waltham, and that is really due to so many churches coming together. And you can see here, this is about Christmas time, I think 2 years ago. A lot of churches coming together to voice their opinion. Here they are again in Waltham, outside, again showing up at different meetings. About 100 showed up at this particular one, letting their voice be heard. This is in the town of Acton. Acton was actually a town back in 2016 that voted yes on the referendum, the statewide referendum. But when they were given a local opportunity to vote, 1,100 people came out. They had to switch the meeting from the town hall to the high school auditorium. And you can see from this picture, 76% of those 1,100 people voted for a general bylaw to stop commercial marijuana in Acton. And again, realize Acton was a yes town. Acton voted yes for commercial marijuana in 2016. So to see yes towns come around and vote 76% on a local level, pretty amazing statistic. And then why are we concerned about the commercialization of marijuana? Because of this over 50% of the sale of marijuana in Colorado is sold as edibles. Okay, so Kit Kats, Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, Almond Joys, gummy bears. There was actually a story out of Holden, Massachusetts, where 2 8th grade students had to be rushed to the hospital because they were eating gummy bears that were infused with such high levels of THC, the addictive component of today's marijuana. You know, many of you watching this, I'm sure, have been to McDonald's or Starbucks. Well, did you know that in Colorado there are more commercial and medical pot shops than there are Starbucks and McDonald's combined? So again, why are we concerned about this? Because we don't want these pot shops, as we like to say, growing like weeds, for lack of a better term. And then also, you know, a lot of people will say, oh, it's just marijuana, it's just an herb, you know, what's the big deal? Well, if you look at the statistics, and this is from 2015, today's marijuana is so different from the marijuana of the 70s and 80s. It is so much more highly concentrated with the THC. And you can see by this chart, the percent of users who become addicted, very comparable to people that get addicted to cocaine, even to heroin. If you look at the daily users, and especially if you start this earlier, you can see the percent of users who become addicted even being higher than those that have taken heroin. So very concerned about especially our young people becoming addicted to this at a young age. And then lastly, you know, people will say, you know, why don't we legalize it? Because we've legalized alcohol, we've legalized tobacco, why not marijuana? And if you legalize it, you know, won't less people use it? Well, if you look at this chart and you look at the illegal drugs here at the top of that chart, you can see that the usage is not as great at all compared to when you legalize a drug. That red there is tobacco and alcohol. So clearly when you legalize alcohol, when you legalize tobacco, you create larger consuming audience of these particular drugs. So clearly if you legalize marijuana, you're going to have more people using marijuana. So I hope that's helpful to you watching this short presentation here and understanding why we're so concerned about this particular drug. You know, a lot of times, Pastor Irvin, you know, people will say, I've heard this too, you know, for the sake of social justice, you know, why don't we offer pot shops to our immigrant community so that they can get a hand up economically, right? So, I mean, I was in Waltham and I was listening to this argument being made by this African-American man and, you know, pleading with the city council saying, look, let's give all of our, you know, people that, you know, are struggling economically or what have you, whoever that might be. And, you know, let's give them the opportunity to open up a pot shop. Wouldn't that be great? This is your hand up. This is your opportunity to become successful in America. Pastor Urban, what would you say to that argument?
Well, that's kind of like saying, if we start opening, strip clubs, we will have more opportunities for people to work.
Right.
I don't find that healthy,
Yeah,
for the environment. So I don't think that's a smart idea. We
right.
have to look at the 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 health aspect. We have to look at the addictions, and it's interesting that the pictures you were showing, people actually commit suicide
Mm,
when they're into drugs. So we have to think about how. That's what I was explaining to the mayor and the president of the council. Are we really thinking about the safety and the health of society, or is this just seeking revenue? you know so what is more important, like now with this situation with COVID-19? If we don't have healthy people, the economy is going to crash. you know
mm,
so we have to understand really what is priority.
yeah, yeah, such a good point. Well, Pastor Urban, I really am just so encouraged by the work you've been doing, your church has been doing. I know there's been a lot of churches in Lynn that have come together on this issue to protect the young people, especially that attend your churches in Lynn. And, we want to continue to partner with you like we've done in Lawrence, like we've done in Lowell, like we've done in Acton, and other towns and cities that I didn't mention. I mean, 250 towns and cities that have taken action against commercial marijuana. So, I hope the viewers that are watching this stay tuned to the information we want to send you, especially as we get into the later part of 2020 and 2021 to resurrect the bill to put churches and daycares in that 500-foot buffer zone. That is really one of the most practical things that we can do to protect our young people. So, Pastor Urban, thank you again for just the great work that you guys are doing in Lynn right now.
Thank you, Mike, and I'm glad that you continue to support this, and we hope that this can benefit really our society. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. It's a pleasure working with you on this issue, and we look forward to partnering with you in the future. And for those of you viewing, stay tuned to our website, mafamily.org, mafamily.org. This is Massachusetts Family Institute, and thank you for partnering with us to strengthen and protect the family, life, and liberty in Massachusetts.